Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Spice. Today onwards we are going to look at king and pawn endgames. Okay, so for understanding king and pawn endgames, we need to know the concept of opposition very well. This concept of opposition I had discussed while doing the basic checkmates, king and queen versus king and rook versus king, that type. Here we will extend it little further. Whenever the kings stand in front of each other and there is one square between them, we say that it's an opposition. Okay, we can further extend it. Not only one square, whenever the kings are on same color, that time also we can say it's an opposition. Let's say the king is on the e4 square and the black king is on the e8 square. So we see that there are odd number of squares between them. So it can be 1, 3 or 5. So what happens here? This is called a distant opposition. Okay. First let us understand what is the benefit of having an opposition. Okay. Let's have a look at this position. During opposition we see both the kings are fighting for the squares in front of them. And what we want, white wants that black king moves away and white king, suppose black king moves away, white king can penetrate further into the black's territory. Same way, black also wants white king to move away and so that his king can come ahead. Okay, so one more very important concept is here the side with the move. Okay, whoever has the move, let's say black has the move. Okay, then white gets the opposition. So white gets benefit. So side with the move will have to move away and the opponent will take advantage of the fact that he has moved away and he goes further. So this is the basic concept of opposition. Now we will see in this king and pawn endgames how one pawn up can be converted, how white can win with an extra pawn, white or black, whoever can win with an extra pawn. So let's get started with some important theoretical positions. So this position we call as position number 1. This is the first position, theoretical position. So theoretical position means by looking at this position, I already know the result. So suppose here white to play is there, then black has the opposition. So what happens here? Side who has the opposition, okay? So it is good for him, and the side who has to move away, for him it is not beneficial. Okay, let's take a position is there and it is white's turn. So what happens? It's white's move means black has the opposition. Black is trying to force the white king to move. Okay, well we can see that white has a pawn here, extra pawn is there, so white will not move his king. So let's say white plays the pawn to d7 and gives check. Now this king cannot go to f8 because pawn will queen. So the king moves to d8 and now wherever the white king moves, suppose he moves to d6, then see this has become a stalemate. The black king cannot move to e7 or c7, king cannot move to c8 or e8. Okay, suppose you don't know about stalemate, you can look at my earlier lessons. I have discussed about check, checkmate, stalemate, and you can check lesson 7 over there. Okay, and if white is not playing the king to d6 anywhere else, e5, d5 or f6 wherever, then king simply takes the pawn. So what will happen? The game will become drawn. So what we noted here, having an opposition for black was very good. So always it's good to put the opponent on the move. Okay. Now let's take the same case. Suppose it is black's move here. So what will happen? Black king has two choices. Either it goes to f8 or d8. If it goes to f8, then pawn simply goes to d7. This square is guarded. Now king has to move away, and then the pawn will become queen, and white will win the game. Okay. So the correct move for black is black has to go kd8. Now white pushes the pawn to d7. Now the black king has only place on c7 and now white cannot queen the pawn because king will capture. So white plays his king to e7 and now d8 square is guarded by the king. So now whatever black plays, the pawn will become queen and white will win the game with the help of queen. We have discussed how king and queen can checkmate the queen in the earlier lessons. You can check those lessons. So what we learned from this position? This is position number 1. If we know this position, what will happen when we start from the beginning position? we will try to avoid this position with white to play. We don't want this position as white to play. So we will try to avoid this position. So that is how theoretical positions will help us. We will look at the next position now. Now we will look at this position where the king is on the 6th rank. See, like the previous one only, but the pawn is behind it. This position is very important and this is referred as position number 2. Okay. So this position number 2 is what we will try to aim at. Okay. Getting this position number 2 will ensure that white will win the game. Okay. Because what happens here now, theoretically, if it is white's move or black's move, whoever has the move in this, white wins the game. Okay, let us see how. First, let's start with black to play. Then what happens? White obviously has the opposition also because black will have to go away. So if black wants to kd8, okay, then as the concept of opposition says, black king moves to one side, we enter from the other side. And now what do we see? All these three squares are covered and they are supported by the king. So king d7, pawn to e6 check. Suppose king goes to d8, then pawn goes to e7, and now wherever king moves, then pawn will go to e8 and the pawn will become queen over there. Okay? And white will win the game. Same way, if the black king goes to f8, then white will go kd7 and the pawn will queen over there. Now let's see what happens if it is white's move. So with white to play now, white will play the king to either d6 or f6, any of the square is fine. King goes to d6. Okay, now black king has three choices. It can go to f8, f7 or d8. Best is to take opposition, to go to d8. Okay, if he goes to f7 or f8, any of these squares, then he is surrendering this d7 square. So white king will go to d7, then pawn will simply promote. See, king f7, e6 check, king f8, e7 check, king g7, and pawn goes to e8 and it becomes queen. So white will win the game. So after kd6, it's absolutely necessary that black takes opposition. Now we see that this position, after the now pawn moves to e6, we force the black king to move. So this is position number 1 with black to play. So what happens here with position number 1 black to play, white will win the game. Now king has to move to e8, pawn goes to e7, king has to go to f7, and then white plays the king to d7, and next move again the pawn will queen and white will win the game. So these two positions are very important, especially the position number 2. Because from the starting point, we will try to reach this position. Okay, now let's get to that. So let's go to the third position. See, this position is very important, and what we are trying to see, how to promote this pawn and take it to the queening square. Okay. So now there are three rules which we have to follow properly. First, see the file in which the pawn is placed. This king will never leave this file and the next two adjoining ones. So king will always be on these three files. First thing. Second, king will always try to go ahead of the pawn. If possible, it will come in the same line ahead of the pawn, but it will try to go ahead of the pawn. The king should not remain with the pawn or below the pawn. Okay, these two things are very important. And third, we will try to snatch the opposition. Means at the point when kings are in front of each other, we will want that it is black to play. So if we manage these three things, we will get the winning position. Okay, let's see now. White starts with the move king d2, king f2 will also do the same thing. Now black should play smartly. He should play the king to d8 and take a distant opposition. Suppose he plays e7, we will quickly see. Then white plays the king to e3, taking a distant opposition. See, they are on the same color. Okay, and it is black's move. Now king e6, then king e4. Now the king has to move to one of the sides. Then white king advances ahead, and at this point, when we see that the king is well ahead, we will play the pawn 2 steps. Now the main destination is the 6th rank. Once the white king reaches the 6th rank, the position will become winning for white. So white wants two things. the king on the 6th rank and the pawn has to be behind it. So very important stage now. After ke7, white has only one correct move, that is ke5. The third thing which we wanted to do. So we used opposition. We never left these three files and our king is ahead of the pawn. Now see, wherever the king moves, we go ahead this way and king moves here, pawn to e5, king comes to d8 and see pawn to e6. We reach the position number 1 with black to play. Now black king will move to e8 and after e7 the white pawn will queen. King f7, kd7 and the pawn will queen. Okay. But here there was a very important point. If white is not playing ke5 and he plays the pawn to e5, then it's a big mistake, because the king and pawn, they are coming together and see the king and pawn are not in the 6th rank. So black gets an opposition here and now white cannot make any progress without playing the pawn ahead. So what will happen? The white pawn will go ahead of the king. This we don't want. So after this we cannot win the game. See, king goes to e5, opposition, but now black simply remains in front of the pawn. And now white moves wherever, black is getting opposition. So see, this we got position number 1 with white to play. And now the game is drawn. So this has to be avoided. Okay, let's have a look one more time. So now after k3-2, black has the main move kd8. Okay, now what we do, we simply go in front of the pawn and we make progress. ke7, ke4, ke6. So very important stage has been reached. Now white has the move and black has got the opposition. So here white uses the pawn move to waste the move, and now see, black has to move his king. So white has managed to take the opposition by wasting this pawn move. This is a very important technique. Now king has to go to one of the sides. Wherever he goes, we go to the other side, improve the position. King goes to e7. We again take opposition. We don't have to push the pawn. We have to make our king reach the 6th rank. Now see, king goes to d7. King goes to f6, it has reached the 6th rank and the pawn is behind it, so it will be a winning position now. Now after king e8, we can play ke6 also, we can play the pawn to e4 also. So white plays e4, kd7, pawn to e5, king to e8, and now again the only correct move, king e6. Okay, e6 will be blunder because after king f8 the game will be drawn. So king e6. Wherever king moves, king goes to f8, then kd7, and now we see that all the squares are covered. So after e7, king moves and the pawn becomes queen. So we have already discussed how to win this position. I hope from these examples it's very clear how to convert an extra pawn and how we can make queen and win the game. I hope you are enjoying the channel. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.